Dave,
John,
Shane,
Chad,
these sci-fi guys.
Welcome to these sci-fi guys. I am here with all the guys, and as you can see them on the screen, everyone wave, say hi.
Oh,
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, we're all dragging right now. It's like 1.5 weeks left of school. Those of us in the education system were just like, is it done yet? Is it done yet? So,
Not that we're counting or anything. Not
I
that
got
we're
another
counting.
4 days that I'm off, and I have been working all weekend this past weekend with work. So
Ugh.
yuck,
Yuck.
yuck. Well, hopefully, what we're going to talk about tonight will put a smile on all of our faces. We are going to be talking about the movie Edge of Tomorrow, the one with Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. Funny, we just were talking about this offline, and Shane sent all the questions because I said last week Shane picked the movie. Shane didn't pick this movie. John did. But Shane already sent the questions, so guess what? Shane has to do them this week, and basically John's going to pick up Shane's movie for next week. So it worked out fine. So anyway, where were we at? Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and go. It's already starting great, isn't it? I hope you guys like the new intro. I don't know. I didn't know if I shared that with you guys with everything, with the new pictures and everything. So, AI comes a long way when you stick a goofy picture of us in there and say, "Hey, make us in Starfleet uniforms." And then at the end, it's like, "Oh, okay." I didn't think the guy looked like me very much, but I think all you guys are pretty close.
kind of short my head off just a little bit.
Yeah, kind of short from that, but
I don't know,
AI
it makes
is
me
not.
look skinny. I'll take it. It's thinned me up a little bit. I will take it.
It made me look younger, so that's why I was like, "Yeah,
There you go.
well,
There you
yeah." Anyway, let's go ahead and go behind the scenes. All right, here's a quick plot summary. Ready? A man fighting in a war against aliens must relive the same day, every time he dies, until he can find a way to stop their power source with the help of an elite soldier.
Hold up. Hey, this is still a different movie, but not dying, sleeping.
It
We'll
is
get into it.
Sci-Fi Groundhog Day.
Sci-Fi Groundhog Day. Yeah, that's about it. But we'll get into that a little bit more. Okay, this movie was based on a Japanese novel. It was adapted from a 2004 Japanese light novel called All You Need Is Kill. That's all it's called. All You Need Is Kill. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this guy's name. If you're on YouTube, you can look at the screen and see it. It's a Hiroshoshi something. It's an original story.
Zaka. I don't know. I can't see the middle.
No.
SAKUR.
Sakurazaka. Yeah. It's an original story that has a more anime-like tone and includes a younger protagonist. And actually, they've got like 3 or 4 different versions of this on Amazon. I was looking at them, and most of them are anime. So, I mean, they pretty much tried to stay with, when the original writer wrote this was a short story, but then it's been turned into anime tons of times. Tiny different aspects from what I read. Okay, here you go. Here's Chad's question. The title confusion. Edge of Tomorrow makes no sense for most people. And they realized that after they released it, and then they started, because it had a lukewarm box office opening. Warner Brothers began marketing the home release under the tagline, Live, Die, Repeat. It became so dominant that many people now refer to the movie by that title instead of the original. And you can see on the screen, I put 3 different screenshots of some of their promotional material that they put out there, and everything was live, die, repeat. So, because Edge of Tomorrow really didn't make a lot of sense when it came to the movie, the name.
No.
Not really.
Live, die, repeat does.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, it's
all right. Emily Blunt's iconic training. She went intense physical training and yoga, as you could tell by some of the moves that she was doing, like when she was doing the Cobra move, the Cobra push-ups and what have you, to prepare her role. She called it the hardest thing that she has ever done physically. She even suffered a hip injury while carrying the mechanical armor, which takes me to the next one. They actually had exosuits that they wore in a lot of those. Tom Cruise and her, both of them actually wore the exosuits. They weighed approximately 70 to 85 pounds. They insisted on wearing them because they wanted to have that extra weight, so when they did their movements, it would seem natural. And CGI would a lot of times can make, you just start punching at stuff or whatever. CGI, they can do whatever with it. And but they wanted it to have a little bit more of a realistic feel. It did cause difficulties during filming. Blunt famously cursed Cruise out on the first day after he tripped during a scene. So anyway. Okay, there was some digital environments. For example, right here on the screen, you can see this actually is a beach that is where the actual beach is, Saunton Sands in North Devon. So they actually extended the beach out using 9 different companies that handle the visual effects. Sony did this particular one where they basically made the beach look a lot larger than it really was. Here you go, John. I found this just for you. Cinematography. Dion Beebe aimed at depicting a world under siege without resorting to a bleak post-apocalyptic look. The film was shot on 35 millimeter film to evoke World War II footage, so it would kind of have that feel, kind of like when we did. What was it? The other Star Wars movie, Rogue One. What they kind of did similar to the same feel as that. And then, of course, the loop structure was actually inspired by video games. The screenwriters wanted to capture the trial and error feel of progressing through a difficult game level. So that's kind of why they did it the way they did it. All right. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 91.
Wow.
Several of these lately have been really strong.
Yeah.
One meter gave it a 90. Yeah, I thought that was pretty impressive. Okay, here we go to the budget. The budget was $178 million.
Oof.
That's a lot of money.
That is.
Make money.
Yes.
I'm saying it made money, but I feel like originally it may not have made a lot, and then it made more later.
All right. Chad, any thoughts? Oh, you're my... I'm sorry. Hold on.
I got you. It made money.
Okay. I was going to say, I thought I muted you, but you had muted yourself. So, all right. Yes, it did. This was the initial release, not any of the re-releases, just strictly the initial release. It only grossed 100 million domestic, but it grossed 270 million internationally. So total of $370 million. And actually it's funny. I didn't put the stats up here, but it was released like 3 or 4 more times, and it only made like $7 million more.
Oh,
so
okay.
After unlike E.T., when it blew the box office away every time it was in the office, box office. This one only after 3 more releases, it only garnered another $7 million. All right, where are we at? Oh, okay. It looks like it's time for some questions. All right. Well, let's move. There we go. We'll move Shane up there because he's going to be the one giving us our questions today.
Before we get to our questions, may I very quickly do a little bit on the film score?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, so very quickly, so the film composer was a guy named Christoph Beck. He's a Canadian composer. He has done a wide variety of different genres, but what's interesting is that he's done many different things like comedies. He's done musicals. He's done animated things. He did the music for Frozen, so there's something there. This was
Let
his
it go.
first. Yes, exactly. He did Let It Go, but this was his first attempt at doing a sci-fi action film. This was his first attempt. So what happened was he actually was not the original composer who was picked, but because of some different scheduling things and stuff, he was brought on board in early 2014. Now this was released in 2014. So you think about the time crunch. It was a time crunch to get this stuff done. What was interesting though about him was that he decided that he was going to use a lot of very non-traditional sounds in this. And the reason he did that was to kind of fit what the movie was going for. He really stayed away from a lot of the classic heroic themes and everything like that. Used a lot of percussion driven stuff. He wanted to make a lot of dark tones, so he would use instead of the strings playing normally, he would have them picking the strings, which is called pizzicato. So he would do a lot of that stuff. One thing that I thought was very interesting was that even though the film is focused on a time loop, he actually stayed away from repeating musical themes. He actually did not want to get into kind of the cliche. He wanted to do something different. So he did.
That's
and
cool.
He really emphasized a lot of things as far as like mystery and intrigue, and really kind of brought out that darker side, sort of to fit the film's kind of dark humor and everything. But it really, the soundtrack itself had very mixed reviews, just because some people thought it was very original, it was very different, and then some thought that it really didn't have those iconic musical themes, but that really wasn't what he was going for. But it was nominated for original best score during the 87th Academy Awards. It didn't win, but it was nominated for it.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, questions. Let's get to the first question now that I've talked a lot. What does the time loop symbolize in terms of personal growth and trauma?
You get to learn from your mistakes, isn't that?
Do what?
You get to learn from your mistakes. Say, hey, I keep going back to the same place. Don't go right, go left this time.
Fair.
And go back and do it again. Go left and right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I seem to remember Cage at the beginning. He was like, I'm not a soldier. I know nothing. I don't even know where the safety is. And then each time he ended up looping. I'm just gonna call it looping. As he learned something different. Like Chad was saying. Every time Rita went to, he's like, every time we've been here, you get killed going to the helicopter. Every time we've done this, so many times, don't go, please don't go, and, I saw a lot of growth in him, not so much in some of the other people, just because they didn't have to really, they just kind of played the same role over and over and over again. Rita, a little bit different because she knew, even though she was reset every time, she knew, because she had done it before. She had the same power before. And so, yeah, I mean, I see a lot that he did. I mean, so many times, especially with like, the first, after the first few times, he's like, yeah, I don't need a helmet. I prefer not having it. It's just too much noise. It's all this. Oh, give me extra magazines. Give me extra battery clips. Give me extra power packs, things like that he started learning each time he went in there. But, that's what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely
John?
think you guys are hammer, meat, nail in terms of the growth. But at least early on, before he started growing, I could definitely see where it traumatized him several times, especially that initial drop. Um, it's straight up PTSD zone, really. I mean,
Oh
just
yeah.
everything going on around him and all of that. And even through the first couple of resets, even seeing him, even though once he realizes he's resetting, like a lot of the times jumping right before something's going to happen, just that idea of like, well, he actually has been traumatized because this keeps happening to him, until eventually, like we've already said, he does grow even through that, and learns to work through that in a way that can be productive, which I think realistically is the best result you can have if you're going to have trauma of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. I totally agree. And I think that one of the things that we forget is that personal growth is often developed through trauma, through stretching, through getting out of your comfort zone. And I think that that is one of kind of the subtle things that this movie kind of brings out is that one of the reasons that he grew was because he was not comfortable. Well, even further, whether he was scared to death, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he did grow from that. He grew because of that. Okay, here's the next one. If you could relive one day until you got it right, would you do it?
I would say no, because I thought about this question a lot. And I look back at my life and I'm like, okay, yeah, I made a mistake here and there, but a lot of times if I made a mistake, I learn from it. So if I wouldn't want, and then I'm mid 50s, I don't want to do puberty again. So I mean, just things like that. I really would not want to relive something over and over again, especially if it was a traumatic event. No, I wouldn't do it. And even if it was a happy event, I mean, like I could see reliving your wedding day or something like that. I was happy, and I think if I had to relive it, I would want to change things. Like for example, when we got married, I gave my wife the wrong hand. I put my right hand up instead of my left hand for her to put the ring on, and it got stuck. So I wouldn't want to. I mean, one, I wouldn't want to change that because I'll always remember it. And that was just because I was so nervous, wasn't thinking, and just like, here you go. And I don't want to change that. So that, to me, no, I would not change it. Somebody else.
No, I wouldn't want to look good. I agree with Dave. Doesn't matter what you did in your past or you want to. Oh, I've done this wrong, and it messed my whole life up. Even though it probably messed my whole life up, where I can go back and fix it, it would have been happy. That part that you made messed up or you made a mistake, you learn from it, and it only makes you stronger. It doesn't help you go back and fix it. So no, I wouldn't want to do it. That's just, I don't know, bonkers.
I'll say I'm in full agreement. I don't think I necessarily would either. I have very few regrets, which then again, I'm only 27 going on 28, so fair. But also, even the ones I do have,
Baby.
they're not real regret because again, you learn from it, you move on. And without that, would I really be the same person if any of that changed? I don't know. Which again, we're not necessarily talking about it affecting the future so much as just that one day until you got it right. But again, even my regrettable moments, I'm like, well, learn from it. I'm better because of them. And if it wasn't for those, then again, I wouldn't be who I am. Now, if we're talking reliving a day, there are plenty of days I would love to go back and just relive and just like visualize that, see them. But if we're talking about that same day until I quote unquote got it right, not for me.
It's a trap!
I think you all hit the nail on the head. I'll be honest, when I first picked this question, my initial thought was, yes, I would love to do that. I would love to get it right. But I think Dave said it best first, is like, when you made mistakes, you learn from them. And I think that I can think back on the mistakes I've made in my life, and they have made me better since then because I've learned from them. I've learned what I should do. And Would I like to have not gone through some of those things before? Absolutely. But I do think that they are a part of my story. They're a part of who I am, and they are a part of what is kind of made me get to where I am, honestly. So I agree. I think no.
Well, I think if you were to ask this question to, say, someone who's been incarcerated or someone who's hasn't had the same lifestyle or upbringing that the four of us have had, you may get different answers there for sure.
True.
But I think that, all of us have kind of, I don't want to say grown up the same, but I mean, in similar circumstances,
Yes, I would agree. All right. Does John, not John, does Cage's journey represent a form of redemption or penance?
Well, since my name got brought up, yes, I think is my answer. Or is the answer. But realistically, yeah, I think it is both. I think towards the beginning, it definitely feels more penance because he's kind of an arrogant jerk and he gets humbled real quick. And then he's humbled over and over and over and over and over, which I think is what sets up the redemption arc of, okay, well, instead of just doing the same thing over and over, eventually he does learn and figures out what he needs to do. And then he goes and does it and ends up being the one who can save the world and then also be worthy of saving the world. Whereas from the onset, he was kind of, no, other people can go and do that. I'm not stepping foot on battlegrounds. It's not my job. It's not what I want to do. I failed at this part in life and that's not for me. And so it's very much penance there. And then to me, the rest of the story is just him immediately being humbled and then being redeemed.
I agree with that. I mean, it's both. At the beginning, it was more he's learning. I agree with what John just said. It's just penance of the first, and then he starts really learning. Hey, I'm going to overcome and adapt on this.
Okay, I'll play the devil's advocate here. I kind of thought it was more penance because I know you guys all said he had a redemption arc, but I'm trying to think other than, okay, he was a jerk at first, but then you learned real quick on the battlefield. That's true on anybody. So I'm not sure that's really a repentance, a changing, because when I hear the word repentance, I think of, redemption, redeeming yourself in the eyes of others. Most of them didn't know who he was. So I'm not sure how much he really needed to be redeemed. I think it was definitely a penance because, oh man, every time you wake up, you're getting the snot beat out of you. You're getting shot. You're getting killed. And then when he met Rita, and then he's like, no, I'm not injured. I'm fine. And then she would just point blank shoot him, or whatever. And to me, I would lean more towards penance.
I think you're all right. I think that it is, as John said, I think it's some of both. I think that the initial start of it is a penance just because of what he's done and things like that. But I do think the penance leads to the later redemption, and it leads to him becoming a better person and having a better story. But he did have to go through, like you said, Dave, he did have to go through that penance first. He did have to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts about the total reset for the movie's ending? Did this undermine the story or did it strengthen it?
It totally undermined the story.
That was one of the behind the scenes things also. And I was like, no, once I saw the question, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to talk about it behind the scenes.
Oh, you didn't want to do Shane that way. You did me.
Yeah. Well,
I see how it is.
He had enough other. He had a lot of other questions, and so that's why I was like, okay, yeah, no. Well, that was just it. It was mixed reviews.
Yeah.
Is what it said in the behind the scenes stuff.
What,
And go ahead, Chad.
Thing is, undermined. It is really undermined. So why? Okay, he died. That should have been it right there. He didn't have the power no more. So why even bother going back? And then he still remembers, and he goes, "I'm gonna." See, that's what I say is He just, I think the alien took pity on him when he died. All right, let's send him back.
Fair.
See, I think it was a total undermining of the story because one, it was so confusing that he went back to before, not to the everyday loop that he was in, where he was always waking up and the guy was handing him his boots and his uniform.
Mm-hmm.
He woke up when he was in the helicopter, but yet all this other stuff had happened. So,
Mhm.
it was very confusing. Of course, that was. I'll just tell you right now, that was been in my fixes. Is let's fix the ending, especially.
Oh yeah.
Because it didn't make sense. I mean, you go back and look at Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day had an ending that made sense. All right, but also at the same time, is he wasn't when he was killed, he woke up. I mean, every time he was always asleep, and he woke up in the same place, same everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This time he woke up in a more past tense or more
Yeah.
past time than
He
what
went
he
further.
did initially. Further
Yeah.
back. Thank you. Yeah. So that's why it was just really confusing.
For me, same deal. I think it undermines the story, and truthfully, I think it also sets some plot holes that didn't necessarily even have to exist if they would have just taken the quote unquote easy and wise route and just ended the film
Black.
in the way it should have been. But I definitely think it set up some extra stuff that didn't have to even be there, and
Mhm.
it throws the story off completely.
Yep. I 100% agree. Undermines it. And that's it.
All right. Well, let's go to my favorite point. And since John already brought it up, plot holes. All right. Somebody jump in with their plot holes that they noticed and just said, "Oh my word, why?"
We already been talking about it.
Besides the ending. All right. How
Yeah.
about that? Any plot holes besides the ending?
Military protocol, I think, in any way, shape, or form. For KG Boy to be in the military, he would know he has to take orders no matter what. So I think even the whole premise for him to end up in that situation, completely off to begin with. Also, just general military protocol as you go throughout the film. All of that fell off for what little I know about the military without experience. I just know it's a lot more structured than the film gave it credit for. And then also just a lot of the time jumps I feel like were a little off. And then of course, I mean the last one, but like they're just, and also this whole he has to die, he can't get injured, the blood. I think the premise that sent him back is a little off. Like, why do only the alphas have it? And then just again, overall, like he definitely once it's gone, it should have been gone. Because that's what we set up with another character. Either that, or you should just keep it like one or the other. I think I need them to kind of have picked one throughout the film. But my biggest one that annoyed me outside of the ending is just the sheer lack of protocol that would normally be there, and that it even tried to set up later. Oh, that was the other thing. Time. That's what I meant by the jumps. They seem to get a lot done in approximately 8 to 12 hours. That I just don't think would ever possibly get done. Like they sit down and do a lot of planning, and it seems like they should already be in the next day, or really 2 or 3 days past, even within the time jump. And they're still in the same day. They haven't started the jump yet, and I'm like, yeah, you're doing a lot in one day that I don't think could really take place. Those are my majors.
I agree completely. And just to kind of piggyback on that, I think the whole time loop thing was very convoluted. I think it needed to be clarified more. I think I mean, where there's some cool effects and everything, but I think it lacked lacked development. It lacked some explanation. You did get a little bit later, but I think it just needed more. I think it needed more. I also think that the aliens with the alphas and the regular ones, then the omega, I think it just needed to be explained a little bit more. No, I say that for a lot of movies, but I think it just needed, the audience needed to be let know. They needed to let the audience know a little bit more, a little bit sooner, just so that way
Yep.
it all kind of makes sense instead of just periodically finding out a little bit by a little bit by a little bit. But I think we needed some explanation so that it all made sense, because the aliens were cool, they looked really cool, but you really didn't get a lot out of it until later. So
Yep.
that's what I think.
Yeah. Chad, anything?
Y'all hit it good.
I got a couple. Okay. Like, for example, when Cage and Rita removed that transponder from the general's office, why didn't they just immediately use it right then and there? Use it, and then she shoot him. Be done with it. You know,
True.
why go through the whole, oh, we're going to crash the car. Now you get a blood transfusion. Now it's not going to work, you know. And I mean, don't take unnecessary risks, you know. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me.
She violated her own rule. Like, hey, if you get injured, make sure you die.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and then, oh yeah, Cage states that he had inspired millions to join the military and fight this good fight. Yet no one there knew who in the heck he was. All right. So, you know, if he was this big PR person, you know, everyone had cell phones, everyone saw ads and stuff, you know. And to me, one of the dumbest things, I guess I'll end on this, was I don't understand what the Alpha's plan was when they were at the dam. It's like, okay, the only way that he's not going to have this power is to get a blood transfusion. So even if they bleed him out and bleed him to death, he's still going to die and then come back. You know, the only way to get rid of it is have a blood transfusion. So to me, again, that kind of goes back to the plot hole thing. You know, if that's the only way you can lose it, why was there such a big deal on, okay, well, the Omega will soon know who you are, and then they're going to go after you. Well, unless there's a way that they can, you know, do a blood transfusion, it's basically doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
Okay, let's rate this. All right, Shane. Well, before you do that, right now here we will be rating this movie on a scale of 0 to 5 lightsabers. And since Shane picked it, we'll let him go first.
Okay. So, thinking about this movie in total, not a bad movie. Okay. Good characters, pretty good story. Needed to change the name. It should have been Live, Die, Repeat. It just should have been that. Would have been better. I think the story had a lot of potential. I think it really did, kind of, when you think about the overall arc of the characters, you think about their development. I think it was done well. I think the ending, I'll be honest with you, screwed it up a lot. I think if the ending would have been better, I would have rated this a lot higher. But I think it needed more explanation as far as the time loop, what it was about, why it was really there. The aliens needed a little more back. I would have liked, like, the opening portion of it to have given a little more background on actually the aliens than it actually did. But I will say, good music, good characters. But I think the ending hurt it a lot. So I am going to rate this at a 3.5.
All right, Chad, how about you?
I agree with the movie. It was a great movie. To scale me of be watching it, if I'll watch it again, I won't seek it out. So to Shane, I'll take it to just a 3. It's a dead middle for me.
I'm sorry, I missed that. What did you say you had rated it? A 3?
3.
Okay. All right, John.
Overall, I really enjoyed watching this. I love anything close to mech suit and mech armor. So I enjoy the exoskeleton idea. I love the sling blade that she had. Overall, I like the premise and the idea, and I like the way they carry out the action scenes. And there's a good mix of like plan action, which I think they could play into a little bit with the time loop. However, the plot hole is a little glaring. I think that brought it down to a 4 for me. And then honestly, just the fact that it's not necessarily an original idea and they took an idea and just twisted it for sci-fi brought it down to a 3.5 for me.
Okay, so it's up to me now. Yeah, I was on the fence on how I wanted to rate this. I was like John, I was thinking Groundhog Day, but they put it into a sci-fi movie. I like Tom Cruise, I liked Emily Blunt, and absolutely I loved let me see, Master Sergeant Farrell. Bill Paxton. He was fantastic. All right.
Yes.
Agreed.
We need more of him. More. And I really enjoyed that part. For me, I went ahead and I rated it just the same as Chad. I rated it a 3. The ending would have moved it up to about 3.5, but like I said, the different plot holes, different stuff, and when I went back and looked and I rated Blade Runner as 3.5. So if the ending would have been better, yeah, I could have seen it up there with Blade Runner, but Blade Runner was better just because of the ending on this. Okay, let's go ahead and figure out how we're going to fix or improve this. All right, somebody start. If not, I will.
All right.
I'll go.
Well,
I think we all
Wow.
did it.
Wow.
Rock, paper, scissors.
All right.
I bow out.
John, go that way.
all right. So I think my biggest fix would be to fix the premise of the time loop. Essentially, I think I would go almost humanity, aliens have entered the world. We've come to a disagreement, like we're at war with one another. Humans are just on the precipice of figuring out time travel, and in its infancy, maybe we've figured out how to go back, but we've only figured out how to go back to one time, and so therein lies your time loop. And we have one hero that's at the head of the war, so maybe hand this button to her, or even have it fail where we've had to pass it on a few times, but obviously not to the failed PR guy. Like, I think it should be a hero that's been trained and is ready all along. I think we get some cool training montage there or something, but we hand this new technology off to that hero, and every time they get close to a key point, maybe that's when they reset because they realize they can't do it. Or, maybe humanity failed. Somebody invented the time travel. You go back, and instead of this weird ending where we get this reset, the ultimate ending is just the paradox of, well, we fixed everything, so now what do we do? Because would we have created the machine to begin with? And I think working towards that end would be pretty cool. I don't know. There's a lot of ways you could play around with it, but I like the idea of an actual invention of jumping back in time to that one point, like it's the infancy of time travel, as opposed to, well, this seeped into your blood and now you just reset every time you die. I think I would have preferred something setting that up differently. I'm just not confident as to what exactly it would look like, but that's my basic fix.
That's a different movie, though. Okay, Shane, go ahead.
So kind of to piggyback on what John was talking about, I do think that the whole time loop needed to be more structured, needed to be presented better, and I think it would have been cool, kind of to do it more on a time travel kind of aspect, kind of like you had said. Of course, we've already talked about fixing the ending. We've already talked about that. Two smaller things I would say also. I think this would have been a cool opportunity Dave mentioned this in the behind the scenes of the video game kind of aspect, especially in the beach scene. This would have been kind of a cool place to even do like a Doom montage where it's the
Oh yeah,
where it's the one-on-one I
first
can't think
person
of what it's
shooter.
called.
First person.
First person shooter kind of thing, and you're kind of moving through the battle scene. That would have been a cool thing. Not every time, but somewhere in the middle that shifts to that. I think that would have been cool. Also, I think it would have been interesting to do different kinds of exoskeletons. For example, not everybody has the same kind of exoskeleton. For whatever you're doing, for whatever kind of rank you might be, or whatever your job is, you have a different kind of a different kind of exosuit. Seeing different things like that on the battlefield, to where like this person's job, he has this kind. This person does this, he has this kind. I just think that would have been a neat kind of difference there. It might have added a little more. Again, it's not a big fix, but I think it may have added some things to it.
Okay, Chad.
Yeah, I agree. Fits the loop. Fits the way that how they. I mean, getting killed. Oh, he locked up and killed the alpha, and the blood made him go back, and they inherited the power. Fits that somehow. I mean, make it. If you're gonna keep it the same, fits it where it goes back, and then he keeps going. But don't keep showing it back on the beach. You saw where they made it to the barn. Emily Blount's character said, "How many times have we been here?" Like, he knew where the mimics were. There's one by the helicopter, and a bunch of them in the field. Like, why not just, hey, we made it this far before, we make sure, like you saw after that. So you said, "You're not wearing a helmet. I don't need a helmet. Give me more clips, give me more batteries." He was prepping to get there and kill him. Like, he accepted the fact that he's got to make it to the use the helicopter to get there. So he's figuring out a way how to do it. And of course, let's fix the ending. He's already lost the power. Let it be. Everybody knew this is a suicide mission. Wants to kill the alpha. Fade to black.
I could see that. Although I got a little different thing. I would like to see one at the beginning. I think Shane mentioned it earlier, some more info on the aliens, not just I mean, if you're going to have some of the newsreels, have them showing some of the aliens in the newsreels, because this has been going on for a year, 2 years, whatever, however long this battle has been going on for. So let's go ahead and be able to see what the aliens look like right away, so we kind of know what we're dealing with. I would have liked to have seen Rita go through some of the time loops, and how she figured out stuff as it went along. And then if she got injured the next day or however long, see, that was one thing they didn't really say, is how long had she that power, So what, at that point, she was basically just, flying by the seat of her pants. So I mean, it would have been something if it would have been like, okay, she got injured, they gave her a transplant, she knew immediately, you could see it in her eyes, she's like, oh no. And then they're like, you're going out, we've patched you up, you're going out. And then she meets up with Tom Cruise,
PR guy.
Okay, and he's not a PR guy. I agree with John. No, don't make him that. Make him a regular soldier. That, okay, hey, you're going to be leading this, or you're going to do this, because then he could have made some changes to a really lousy battle plan. Where is your air support? I'm an Air Force guy. All right, come on. If you know they're going to be in that area, bomb the mess out of them. You should have had A-10s or something out there flying around for just as support aircraft. You didn't have any of that. You had a bunch of, helicopter Osprey looking things that
it was the cargo drops.
Yeah. I mean, and then they were all doing it on the ground. So,
speaking of all of it, sorry, go.
I was just gonna say, I think the ending could have been so much better. Is instead of going fade to black, you go to black. Okay, you could fade to black, but then you got an after credit scene where you've got the newsreel coming up and coming up with these questions that we're coming up with. What do we do now? How are we going to rebuild? Different little snippets here and there, and then at the very end say, hey, we need to let everyone know these are our two heroes from this war. That we had Cage and we had Rita, and then have them as they're laying the coffin into the ground or something like that okay, now it's closure. We've closed out the loop. The loop is now complete. Let's go with it.
Yep.
So, John,
So
you were saying something.
in sitting here thinking on this a little bit longer, I actually think they should have leaned into the video game idea more. Just because you could keep the story exactly the same, even down to the ending. Just with maybe, like you say, an after credit scene where all of a sudden you hear somebody calling out a kid's name, and then the pause screen comes up as they step away from their screen. Because the ending makes a lot more sense if it is a video game. Because if you finish a video game, sometimes it lets you have the character and you can go back and play the events, but it's in a different way. And I think the ending makes a lot more sense if it is the actual video game. It could have been. And like you mentioned in behind the scenes, I think if they had leaned into that more with an awesome end credit scene, I think you're talking even more of a killer movie.
Yeah.
Direct to Enterprise.
Please contact us. Tell us if you agree with our ratings or how you would fix or improve this movie, or if there's a movie that you would like us to review. The easiest way to do that is if you're watching us on YouTube is to comment below. For those of you that are audio-only listeners, you can reach us on either X or Facebook at TheseSciFiGuys. Or you could email us, TheseSciFiGuys@gmail.com.
I'm sorry. I know everybody else. I don't know if you guys can see everybody else on the bottom whenever the video plays, and I can see John. John was like, just playing around. And of course, I'm watching the video, and then I'm like watching John just making these goofy faces. So
I'm so glad you get to see that, Dave.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I get to see all of them there, so it's quite humorous.
I'm sad I did not get to see that.
But yeah, it was pretty fun. Okay, next time, well, as I said, we kind of switched people. So, John, tell us what movie you're going to tell us about next week.
It's almost as if we're going to show up somewhere, like we're going to arrive.
Oh,
it's Hawkeye. Oh wait, wrong movie. And Lois Lane, right?
Yes.
No, wrong
Yeah.
movie.
And Wish.com, Sam Fury. Or Nick
Exactly.
Fury.
Nice.
I was going to say
Nice.
Samuel Jackson, but
Yes.
yeah.
Well, I combined the two accidentally, so here we are.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, so okay, next week we're gonna do Arrival, a little different movie, that's for sure. And we'll kind of reminds me of the original Independence Day almost at the beginning,
Mhm.
and then it kind of changes up, and it's not so much bang bang shoot 'em up
Mhm.
that I remember. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, so
It makes
We'll
you
see.
think.
it does make you think. Hey, all you out there in YouTube land and actually let's just say internet land, we've got a couple more weeks of movies. As we mentioned earlier, school's getting ready to be out, and so we're going to do an additional show for in between these other ones, and we're going to be watching TV shows. They're pilots of some of the shows just to begin. Usually it's like one episode or two episodes, and it's mainly for John and Shane. I'm going to ask questions. Chad may or may not be there, but it's mainly for them because they've never seen these shows. So it's going to be getting a firsthand, what'd you think? Where do you think the show went from here, kind of, and all that. So, and also it will give them a little bit more knowledge for the next time we have those sci-fi guys on, if we ever do another trivia. So that way kind of
Right.
kind of get a bigger realm of everything.
That's right.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. But
Well,
yeah,
I think-
that'll be coming up soon, and of course we got the summer, so we're going to be doing our best to do some stuff, maybe some get to know you. We're going to be doing some more of those. John and I did one last year for each of us. We still need to do Shane and Chad. We may end up doing John's again, because his was like the first one, and it was a long time ago. So, and we got better music now and better other stuff. New graphics and new kinds of good stuff.
There's a song out there about that. Getting to know you. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Wasn't that? Until next time, everybody.
Crash and burn.
These Sci-Fi Guys is an independent broadcast by The Sci-Fi Guy Productions. Super Epic is music courtesy of Alexander Nakarita and is found on creatorrecords.com. For more information on upcoming episodes, follow us on X at The Sci-Fi Guys. For our audio-only listeners, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Like, subscribe, or leave a comment to let us know how we're doing.